Ladies and gentlemen, all rise. The court is in session.
Council seeks permission. Your Lordship, before the Honourable High Court of Rasmat in the matter of Before the Honourable High Court of Rasmat in the matter of Raghaveda Enterprises Private Limited versus Dr. Naidu Laboratories and NAPO International Arbitration, Mediation and Conciliation Centre. Council seek permission to state the facts of the case. Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, Raghaveda Enterprises Private Limited, further referred as REPL, is the petitioner in the current matter. They have developed an artificial substitute for a naturally existing fungus which has better, more beneficial properties, Your Lordship. They have applied and received patents in many countries for the greenhouse auxiliary products which produces the artificial conditions necessary for the production of the fungus. Your Lordship, the greenhouse patent kit has 5 different patents, one of which is titled Method and Devices to Induce Mutations. However, Your Lordship, it chose to keep the composition of herbal proprietary mutation-inducing herbal extract as a secret. For the purposes of commercial marketing, REPL got into a joint venture agreement with the respondent, that is Dr. Naidu Laboratory, further referred as NLI, and the contract conditions are as follows. REPL shall make available the proprietary mutation-inducing herbal extract to NLI, who shall only buy it from REPL, Your Lordship. And NLI has undertaken not to do any reverse engineering of the herbal extract. Furthermore, any improvement IPR that the NLI does, they are bound to reveal the same to us, and REPL has a right to obtain IPR registrations at their discretion after paying $1,000 as a consideration per IPR, Your Lordship. In the case of conflict, both Empyrean and Baranasian law shall apply, whichever favorable. As per the contract, mediation and arbitration have been told as the dispute resolution mechanism, mediation being first, followed by arbitration. The mediator has been allowed to double up as an arbitrator, Your Lordship. The contract was executed in Baranasia in the year 2007. Your Lordship, due to problems with respect to contamination of herbal extract, NLI sought for our permission with respect to reverse engineering of the herbal extract, Your Lordship. However, we denied the same initially, and furthermore, we gave them permission to do further research of the herbal extract, Your Lordship. After receiving permission to do further research, NLI did reverse engineering of the product, and furthermore, they kept the composition of the improved herbal extract which they claimed to have invented as a secret and they are not revealing the same to us, your lordship. Thereby a dispute arose and the matter went to mediation, which was not solved. Furthermore, the matter went to the arbitrator and the arbitrator held the patent to be invalid, and based on the invalidity of the patent, it further held that NLI is not bound to disclose the composition of the herbal extract to the petitioners and that they are the sole owners of the improved herbal extract, your lordship. Due to this award, the petitioners, being extremely aggrieved, approached the Honorable High Court, your lordship. With the permission of your lordship, the council would like to state the jurisdiction under which we are approaching the Honorable Court. The petitioner humbly submits the written submissions invoking Section 34 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, 1996, your lordship. If your lordships may please, the issues presented in the current matter, there are 4 different issues, your lordship. Kind reference be made to Roman number 8 of the memorial for the petitioners, your lordship. There are 4 different issues, 2 of which, issues number 2 and 4, shall be dealt by me, and the next 2 issues shall be dealt by my co-counsel, your lordship. Moving on to the first issue, your lordship, which is there in page number 18 in the memorial for the petitioner. Your lordship, the issue before us is the finding of the arbitrator. The finding of the arbitrator has been given in point 17 of the fact sheet, your lordship. In the question of ownership of improvement IPR, the arbitrator found that since REPL supplied only NLI the finished product, namely the extract, and transferred no technology in respect of herbal extract, they are not bound to share the ownership. So, essentially the arbitrator has told that NLI is not bound to share the ownership and they are the sole owners of the herbal extract, your lordship. Here we have, your lordship, the respondents who have consciously agreed to the terms of the contract, which I have already stated, your lordship. And there are certain grounds on which they have committed breach of contract, your lordship. Furthermore, in order to understand the spirit of the patent licensing agreement between the 2 parties, we essentially need to find out if there was primarily a valid contract between the parties, and furthermore the obligation of the parties to this contract, your lordship. Section 10 of the Indian Contract Act 1872 is the guiding section with respect to analyzing what agreements are contracts. And they give us 3 points on which an agreement shall be a contract. Your lordship, the 3 essential points are that there should be free consent of the parties, that the parties must be competent to the contract, and that there must be a lawful consideration, your lordship. This is as per Section 10 of the Contract Act. Your lordship, there is free consent between the parties. The parties are signatories to the contract, and also they are competent to the contract, your lordship. Coming to the lawful consideration, the fruits of this joint venture agreement are so remarkable that both the parties have been equally benefited commercially and their markets have expanded due to this contract, your lordship. And therefore, that is the lawful consideration. It is therefore humbly submitted, it is undisputed that there is a valid contract between the parties. Having established that there is a valid contract, we need to see the obligation of the parties, both REPL and NLI, with respect to the present contract at hand. Section 37 of the Contract Act talks of obligation of the parties to a contract. Your lordship, I read the section, obligation of parties to contract. The parties to a contract must either perform or offer to perform their respective promises unless such performance is dispensed with or excused under the provisions of this Act or any other code or any other law. Your lordship, here, a promisor to a contract is obligated to perform his promises, your lordship, and this obligation is absolute. And Section 38 furthermore says that if offer of performance by a party has not been if a party offers to perform his obligations to a contract, the other party is obligated to accept the performance and perform their part of the contract, your lordship. Now we have REPL, which is ready to perform their parts of the contract, and NLI has signed the contract of the the clauses of which I have already told, that they are supposed to buy the herbal extract only from us, that they are not supposed to do any reverse engineering, and there being any improvement IPR, they are supposed to give it to us, give it to our discretion to decide on the IPR registrations, your lordship. And they have gone ahead and breached all the 3 clauses, Your Lordship. Now, in order to understand if they really have breached these clauses, we need to interpret the contract and find the intention of both the parties with respect to the contract, Your Lordship. It is very important to understand the contract, as it will reveal to us the spirit of this joint venture agreement, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, the contract interpretation, it should be so obvious that it must go without saying. The question is, what a reasonable person, circumstanced as the actual parties were, would have understood the parties to have meant by the use of specific language. The answer to that question is to be gathered from the text under consideration and its relevant contextual situation, Your Lordship. Now, Your Lordship, we have clearly told that herbal extract you are not supposed to reverse engineer. So, it is submitted, Your Lordship, that we are intending to keep the herbal extract as a trade secret, Your Lordship. Article 39(2) of TRIPS gives us what conditions are essential for a trade secret to come into being. And those, if you may kind reference be paid to page number 21 of the memorial for the petitioner, Your Lordship, where Article 39(2) of TRIPS has been stated. It says there are 3 conditions, Your Lordship, under clause A, B, C of the memorial, that it is a secret in the sense that nobody as a body or precise configuration, essentially it says that it must be kept as, it is a secret and nobody else knows. Second, it should have commercial value because it is a secret. Furthermore, and that it has been subject to reasonable steps under the circumstances by the person lawfully in control of the information to keep it a secret. Here, Your Lordship, we have a secret, we are accepting that we have a trade secret, and we have a commercial value of it, which has been proved by the fact that the contract is remarkable and both the parties have been benefited economically. And that we have taken reasonable steps to maintain it as a secret by signing confidentiality agreement with the parties who have the composition of the herbal extract, Your Lordship. Therefore, TRIPS provides for maintaining of a trade secret. Having said this, and having told our intention to keep it as a trade secret and not reveal the same to anybody else, NLI, Your Lordship, being a player in the market in the same field, is very well aware of parties which would want to keep a trade secret, Your Lordship. And this industry is having signed a contract like that, they are essentially aware of the fact that it is a trade secret and they are not supposed to touch the same. Your Lordship, it is not disputed that reverse engineering of trade secret is allowed. But what we have to see, there are 2 different situations, Your Lordship. NLI and other parties. Is NLI allowed to do reverse engineering is the question before us. We are not disputing the fact that other parties who have lawfully got the possession of the herbal extract can do reverse engineering. We are not at all disputing on that, Your Lordship. But NLI, being bound by the terms of the contract, having undertaken that they will not do reverse engineering, are not allowed to do the same, Your Lordship. Furthermore, Your Lordship, coming to their defense to this would naturally be that we took permission of yours to do reverse engineering, Your Lordship. But then again, they asked us permission to do reverse engineering and we gave permission to do further research, Your Lordship. We need to understand 2 differences. Since this is such a technical matter and the field and the product itself, the composition itself is of so much importance, we need to understand what research is and what further research reverse engineering is, Your Lordship. Black's Law Dictionary defines research as an effort to create an improved product or service, especially by discovering new technology or advancing existing technology. Whereas reverse engineering, the process of how an invention works by inspecting and studying it, especially taking it apart in order to learn how it works and to improve it. Reverse engineering, Your Lordship, means starting with the product, you're going backwards and finding out what the product contains. Whereas further research is, you have a product at hand and you are aiming at developing, you are aiming at making a better product. So you are not allowed to do reverse engineering, Your Lordship. When we have ourselves drafted the contract and said that you cannot do reverse engineering, we have ourselves given the permission to do further research, we naturally meant that it was further research, Your Lordship. So they cannot take the defense of equating further research to reverse engineering, Your Lordship. Furthermore, not only have they reverse engineered, after doing reverse engineering, they are keeping the composition of the herbal extract as a secret, Your Lordship. They have reduced buying the herbal extract from us, which is given in the contract, Your Lordship. This clearly proves a malified intention on their part, so that taking recourse of a trade secret being statutorily unprotected and them having the possession of the same, they have worked around this and worked around very well indeed and come to the better composition of herbal extract and are finding reasons not to reveal the same, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, it is submitted that there would be no improvement of herbal extract if there was no herbal extract in the first place. Herbal extract is our invention and we have given it to them and we have given them permission to do further research, and only then have they come up with a new herbal extract, Your Lordship. Therefore, they cannot use this permission as a springboard to the detriment of our own rights, Your Lordship. Furthermore, Your Lordship, clause 5F of the fact sheet, it talks about 5F of the clause, Your Lordship. In the event of there being any improvement IPR, the accruing IPR should be notified to REPL, and REPL shall have the right to obtain IPR registrations, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, here we are not claiming complete ownership of the herbal extract, Your Lordship. But then again, they cannot deny us any ownership of the improved herbal extract. And here we are, if you may kindly note the articulation of the clause, they do not say that REPL has the discretion to completely decide on the complete ownership of any improvement IPR. What they are saying is that it is under their discretion for IPR registrations. And this is precisely been drafted for situations like this, where they take permission from us and then do reverse engineering and claim complete ownership, Your Lordship. We are open to negotiation based on the fact how they reveal to us how much of further research have they done and how better is that further research and how it is going to affect the patent as such. Thereby, Your Lordship, these breaches of the contract have not been noticed by the arbitrator at all. And without that, he has held the patent invalid, which would be dealt subsequently by my... I shall address it to Your Lordship. You can... Yes, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, section 34 of the... you mean to say under which section we have...
In agreement, can there be a arbitration clause where the patent right is given and the violation of the terms and conditions of the agreement is governed by the Patent Act, whether the forum is provided under the Patent Act, whether clause of arbitration is permissible in an agreement?
That is precisely our contention in the third issue, which will be taken up by my co-counsel. No, Your Lordship. That is with respect to patent validity. Your Lordship, since arbitrator, as I already submitted my arguments, he has not given regard to the breaches done by the respondent and has declared an award that they are not bound to share the ownership. It's violative of the patent licensing agreement, Your Lordship. If Your Lordships may please permit me to move to the next issue. Your Lordship, kindly refer to page number 9 of the memorial. Your Lordship, the issue before us is the procedural aspect of the arbitration. The arbitrator, Mr. Sampath Ammaji Mohan, has appointed NAPO International... I shall be done in that time, Your Lordship. Much obliged, Your Lordship. The arbitrator has appointed NAPO International Arbitration Center for assisting him with the arbitration. Which is respondent number 2. He has furthermore appointed 2 independent experts to give an opinion on the validity of the patent and because of the use of herbal extract in the patent, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, it is not disputed that a logistical support can be appointed by the arbitrator, nor is it disputed that an independent expert can be appointed by an arbitrator, Your Lordship. But the way the current arbitrator has done is that right is the question, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, kindly note that the entire dispute at hand, which is the ownership of the improvement IPR, the award given by the arbitrator is solely based on the opinion of the independent expert, holding that the patent is invalid, Your Lordship. Therefore, the opinion of the independent expert is of prime importance to us. And therefore, whether the independent expert prima facie has a right to even make an opinion, and whether the arbitrator can accept the same is the question, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, the contract clearly provides that rules of International Permanent Court of Arbitration shall apply to the present arbitration, Your Lordship. Article 27(1) of the Rules of International Permanent Court of Arbitration permits the appointment of expert assistants, but a copy of experts' terms of reference shall be communicated to the parties, Your Lordship. Furthermore, subclause 3 of the same article, it says, the arbitral tribunal shall also communicate a copy of the expert report to the parties for them to express their opinion on the report for examination of the documents. So basically, an independent expert has been appointed. He is supposed to give us the report of what his opinion is and the documents he has relied on to come to this opinion, Your Lordship. None of which has been submitted to us at all. And therefore, it is submitted also, Your Lordship. UNCITRAL Rules Article 29 also provides for the same, that consent of the parties is necessary, which has not been done, Your Lordship. Furthermore, Your Lordship, it is also submitted. Since there is a trade secret involved in the contract, what is important is the commercial secrecy, Your Lordship. That is the intention of the parties. And preventing disclosure of valuable information, it will get defeated once an external assistance is hired without our consent, Your Lordship. And therefore, it is submitted that the procedure of the arbitrator to appoint NAPO International Arbitration Center, furthermore appointing independent expert, is against the rules, Your Lordship, and the award cannot be accepted because it has relied completely on independent expert, Your Lordship. Much obliged, Your Lordship. My co-counsel would further take forward.
Never passed on the trade secret to the NLI. It was kept a secret from them. They didn't know about it.
Yes, Your Ladyship.
You gave them permission. Under what circumstances? When they told you that they are having some problems because the shelf life is not okay, they want to prolong the shelf life. Am I right? So it was. They didn't go against the spirit of the contract. They took your permission to do further research. Now, in the moot problem I see, if you kindly see paragraph number 8, it says, hence further research enabled NLI to come up with an improved composition. It doesn't say by reverse engineering. It says further research, which you permitted them to do. If you look at it like that, would you agree that there has been no breach of that term of the contract?
Much obliged.
If you see paragraph 8, have you got that line, Miss?
Ma'am, if you could please see 3 lines above that.
Yes.
Where it says, while doing reverse engineering.
Yes, but then they found that there were masking agents which obstructed anything to be found out. Because the whole idea of the masking agent was to stop detection of the composition.
Yes.
So they did not make headway there. So only the further research which you permitted them to do, which enabled them to really find out the improved composition. And since you had not passed on the secret, there was no question of any breach. And you admit that the moot problem says clearly that you have not patented that extract. Therefore, there's been no infringement of the patent itself.
Yes, Your Ladyship. Your Ladyship, the permission given was to do further research. And if I may please take a minute. Much obliged, Your Ladyship. The permission given was for further research, and we gave them herbal extract. The composition of the herbal extract was a secret. And that is why we have a clause in the contract telling do not do reverse engineering. Having kept the clause in mind, we gave them permission for further research. They did reverse engineering primarily, and after that they proceeded with further research, Your Lordship. Whereas they were supposed to do only further research. They were not allowed to do reverse engineering and further research, Your Ladyship. If it is a trade secret, Your Lordship, Your Lordship, I would like to answer that. The patent is the greenhouse patent kit, and the trade secret is the herbal extract, Your Lordship. And they are bound under the contract to not do reverse engineering. Both the things being different. Much obliged, Your Ladyship. Thank you.
Your Lordship, Your Lordship, first the Council seeks permission to address the bench collectively as Your Lordships. Much obliged, Your Lordships. Your Lordship, Council number 2, on behalf of the petitioners, would present the following two issues as Your Lordship, issue number 1 and issue number 3 of the written submissions. Your Lordship, the first contention raised by the Council is whether the arbitrators in Bharnesia can pronounce on the validity of patent and would it amount to exercising statutory powers. Your Lordship, as argued by my co-counsel, the dispute in question was regarding the ownership of this improved herbal extract. However, Your Lordship, the award given by the arbitrator reflects mainly on the validity of the patent. Your Lordship, my submission in this regard would be threefold. I would first be discussing the sovereign nature of patent grant. Secondly, Your Lordships, I would be discussing the exclusive jurisdiction of courts and certain administrative agencies to decide on matters as critical as patent validity. Thirdly, Your Lordships, I would be discussing the inherently limited powers of the arbitrator as regarded matters like patent validity. And finally, Your Lordships, I would be discussing the public policy concerns and how this award is liable to be set aside. Your Lordships, if you may refer to page number 3 of the written submissions. Your Lordship, coming to my first submission, the sovereign nature of a patent grant. Your Lordship, a patent is a statutory privilege granted by the sovereign to the inventor with exclusive rights of exploitation. Your Lordship, this means that only the sovereign inherently has the power to take away or extinguish the rights which it has granted by its own authority. Further, Your Lordships, if a government body grants the patent rights, only the same body shall be able to extinguish those rights. Your Lordship, kind reference be paid to page number 1 and 2 of the written submissions for my next contention, that patent validity is covered under exclusive jurisdiction of the courts and administrative agencies. Your Lordship, we are all aware that the doctrine of freedom of contract binds to an arbitration proceeding. However, Your Lordship, an arbitration proceeding is also limited by the doctrine of subject matter arbitrability, where all issues are not allowed to be arbitrated. Your Lordship, certain issues like patent validity, which have an erga omnes effect and shall affect the public at large, fall under the segment of prohibition for as a subject matter for arbitration, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, kind reference be paid to section 25, subsection 4 of the Patents Act 1970, where, Your Lordships, in Bharnesia, it confers powers upon the controller of patents, Your Lordship, to maintain, to amend, or to revoke the patent on receipt of recommendation from the opposition board. Further, Your Lordship, section 64 of the same act stipulates revocation of a patent by Intellectual Property Appellate Board and the High Courts. Your Lordship, section 66 allows central government to revoke the patent in public interest, and Your Lordship, section 104 of the same act confers exclusive jurisdiction on the High Courts over suits involving counterclaim for patent revocation. Further, Your Lordships, even in Imperia, 28 USC section 1338 bestows exclusive jurisdiction only on the federal courts over suits concerning patent laws. Your Lordship, kind reference be paid to the compendium, page number 170, where in the case of Beckman Instruments Incorporation versus Technical Development Corporation, the court observed that issues as patent validity and enforceability are inappropriate for arbitration proceedings and should be decided by a court of law given the great public interest in challenging invalid patents, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, combined reading of these sections and this case law gives us an idea of the intention of the legislature to authorize only certain courts and administrative agencies, which in this case is the BIPAB, Your Lordships, to address issues as critical as patent validity and revocation, which shall have a public effect in general, Your Lordships. Your Lordships, kind reference be paid to page number 5, where I come to my third submission, that the arbitrator has limited powers to address issues like patent validity. Your Lordships, arbitration is a consensual process. Therefore, the jurisdictional competence of the arbitrator is limited to only those people who have consented to it, Your Lordships. Your Lordships, therefore, the award which the arbitrator shall make in this regard shall be binding only inter partes. But when, Your Lordship, the arbitrator exceeds his powers and goes and delves into a question of patent validity, which has public policy, which has public interest concerns, as I shall be discussing in my next argument, Your Lordship, there the award will seek to operate in the nature, in erga omnes nature, affecting everyone, Your Lordships. Your Lordship, which is not what is there in the powers of the arbitrator, who has limited powers to adjudicate only to contractual disputes as brought by the consented parties, Your Lordship. Your Lordships, now I shall be reflecting the concerns, our grievances as to this award and the concerns it throws on the public policy. Your Lordship, the arbitrator in the present case has given an award on patent invalidity. Your Lordship, this award has the potential to limit our monopolies and royalties which we will be generating from this patent, Your Lordship. Further, Your Lordship, it affects our exclusive rights and brings us immense commercial losses, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, it also vehemently damages our goodwill and reputation which we have created in the market for so many years, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, we do not deny the contention that patent arbitration can be continued, but Your Lordship, only in cases where the disputes are contractual in nature. The arbitrator does not have an authority to adjudicate about the status of the patent. And Your Lordship, where the arbitrator goes on to give an award on the status of the patent, Your Lordship, the court cannot overlook the interest of the public, Your Lordship, which in this case will be involuntary third parties who might as well be using the knowledge of this patent for their own benefits, Your Lordship. Further, Your Lordships, in case an arbitrator invalidates a patent, Your Lordship, there also interest of conflict of interest as well as concealment of evidence shall come up, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, because arbitration is a private mechanism. Your Lordship, an alleged infringer will defend himself by claiming for invalidity. If, Your Lordship, a judgment is given on invalidity of a patent, it also invokes the interest of all third parties who are using this patent. Your Lordship, now this infringer, he might be motivated to defend his own interests. But, Your Lordships, he might not be adequately motivated to protect the interest of those third parties who are competitors to him in the market. Your Lordship, therefore, there might be a possibility that he may take the benefit of the private proceedings of arbitration to conceal an evidence which is very important to be produced in court of law, where the evidence gets produced in publicly to everybody, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, to prevent such concealment of important documents, issues like patent validity are generally kept out of private proceedings like an arbitration, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, also in the case of Renu Sagar, Your Lordship, kind reference we pay to compendium page number 55 and 88, Your Lordship, where in the case of ONGC versus SAW Pipes, and Your Lordship, Renu Sagar Private Company Limited versus General Electric Company, the courts clearly observed that an arbitral award can be set aside if it is patently illegal, is in contravention with the fundamental policy of India, or is against the public interest. Your Lordship, the petitioners, to sum up, the award is liable to be set aside, and the arbitrator has wrongly decided on the patent validity, exceeding his jurisdiction as per section 34 Clause 2, Subclause A4 of the Arbitration Act. The subject matter, that is patent validity, is invalid as per Section 34, Subsection 2, Clause B1. Also, Your Lordship, the award is against public policy as per Section 34, Clause 2, Subclause B2, Your Lordships. Your Lordships, hence the petitioners humbly submit. Yes, Your Lordships.
Clauses in the agreement
Yes, Your Lordships.
contrary to the statutory provision of the Patent Act.
Yes, Your Lordships.
At Section 104 you have referred,
Yes, Your Lordships.
ready with Section 116
Yes, Your Lordships.
of the Patent Act.
Yes, Your Lordships.
If the violation of the terms and conditions of the contract, your remedy is in the forum provided in the statute.
Yes, Your Lordships.
Contrary to the statutory provisions of a Patent Act, can there be a condition clause of an arbitration? What is your answer?
Your Lordship, the arbitration, the Patents Act in Section 103, Subsection 5 provides that only the central government can invoke an arbitration proceeding. But Your Lordships, there has been no explicit mention in the Patents Act about referring to an arbitration tribunal except this section. But Your Lordship, this remedy is provided in the Arbitration Act, where Section 34 allows us to take a contention to the court, where Your Lordship, under the following conditions as laid in the Section 34, the parties are not satisfied with the arbitral award.
Forum is provided for the breach of the contract to get remedy under the Patent Act or not?
Your Lordships, the Patent Act provides a remedy for infringement suits and for suits where counterclaim for revocations has been made. Your Lordship, Section 104 provides a remedy where a patent has been infringed, that the court of first instance, the district courts can have the adequate jurisdiction. But Your Lordships, where a counterclaim for revocation to these patents has been made, Your Lordship, the appropriate forum is the High Court, Your Lordship. Yes, Your Lordships. Yes, Your Lordships. Yes, Your Lordships. Yes, Your Lordships, it is definitely a valid condition because, Your Lordship, at the first place, the arbitral tribunal had the authority to adjudicate where contractual rights were violated. Your Lordships, because there was a violation of our contract and a breach of contract at the first place, as explained by my co-counsel, the remedy as provided in the contract was taking it to an arbitration tribunal, which, Your Lordship, was done. Now, Your Lordships, that the petitioners are aggrieved by the arbitral award, we have brought this case to this honorable bench under Your Lordship, Section 34, which gives us adequate jurisdiction to bring this case to this forum, Your Lordships. Much obliged, Your Lordships. Your Lordships, if the bench are satisfied, I would like to proceed to my second contention. Yes, Your Lordships. Lordships, my second contention being whether the scheme of mediation prevalent in Bharnesia permits any professional to double up both as a mediator as well as an arbitrator. Your Lordships, my submission in this issue will be threefold. Firstly, I would be discussing the reasons to raise such a contention. Your Lordship, secondly, I would be discussing the scheme of mediation and arbitration prevalent in Bharnesia. And Your Lordship, finally, I would be discussing the rules and laws in Bharnesia which require an arbitrator and mediator to be independent and impartial. Your Lordships, we do not deny the contention that in the contract itself, we have ourselves accepted that in case of a failed mediation, the mediator shall become the arbitrator in the subsequent arbitration proceedings. However, Your Lordships, upon delivery of the arbitral award, Your Lordship, we found that the arbitrator had commissioned the services of an independent expert without taking consent or informing us, Your Lordships. Your Lordship, further, that the arbitrator had exceeded the amplitude of his powers to give an award on patent validity. Your Lordship, therefore, because of these conditions, it raises sufficient concerns on our part on doubting the objective resolution of disputes and henceforth bringing this contention to this honorable bench, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, coming to the scheme of mediation as prevalent in Bharnesia, Your Lordship, the scheme of mediation and arbitration does not expressly anywhere provide about a mediation, hybrid mediation arbitration concept. Your Lordship, and it is for many reasons that such a provision has not been explicitly provided, because, Your Lordship, where a subsequent same neutral is allowed to adjudge both a mediation and arbitration proceeding, Your Lordship, there might, because he has enormous powers, there might be misuse of powers. Also, Your Lordship, the mediator in his capacity is authorized to have private caucus sessions with the parties where confidential information might be raised, and disclosure of such information. Yes, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, it is a very important matter for the reason. Yes, Your Lordships. Yes, Your Lordships. Your Lordships, that is the entire contention, that because the parties share confidential information with him, even though by law he is prohibited to disclose such information without the consent of the parties, such information that is available to him might frame an opinion in his mind which can affect the award that he will deliver, Your Lordships. Your Lordship, that is the sole reason why confidential concerns are raised. Otherwise, Your Lordships, the law protects the disclosure of confidential information, Your Lordships. Yes, Your Lordships. Yes, Your Lordships. Indeed, Your Lordships. Indeed, Your Lordships. Your Lordship, that is the contention that I am trying to raise, that such disclosure of confidential information may prejudice his opinion while giving an arbitral award, Your Lordships, in the capacity of an arbitrator. That is the reason why our law does not explicitly provide for a hybrid mediation arbitration proceedings, Your Lordship.
Ask you to please refer
Yes,
to the Permanent Court of Arbitration rules, number 11 and 12, as well as Article 11 and 12 of the Permanent Court of Arbitration, as well as Section 11 of the Act. Now you will see there is nothing there that prevents a mediator from acting as an arbitrator, provided there is full disclosure of all facts before the agreement. So you had entered into this agreement, as you said, freedom of contract, knowing fully well that he was an arbitrator before, mediator before, and then he became an arbitrator.
Yes, ma'am.
So therefore, now can you challenge it?
Ma'am, the facts are silent about such a provision, that whether he made an adequate disclosure or not, and the fact that we became aware of the fact that the arbitrator had commissioned independent experts to guide him on deciding the issue in the contention. Your Lordship, we became aware of this thing only after the award was given, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, first of all, the facts are silent about anything as to disclosure by the arbitrator mediator about his independency and impartiality. But, Your Lordship, the fact that he has hired independent experts without the consent of parties raises concerns.
It's a different issue. I don't think you should merge these two issues. That would be a different issue altogether.
Counsel seeks apology, but yes. Thank you. Your Lordships, further, it might defeat the due process of law, and Your Lordship, a myriad of ethical issues are raised when the same mediator is allowed to proceed into an arbitration proceeding. Your Lordship, on the contrary, the rules and laws require the arbitrator and mediator to be independent and impartial, to take care that they are not biased, Your Lordships. Your Lordship, Section 11, Subsection 8, Section 11, Subsection 8, Clause B of the Arbitration Act, Article 6, Subsection 4 of the Rules of International Permanent Court of Arbitration, and Rules 7 and 8 of the Mediation Rules 2003 clearly mention that the appointment of an independent arbitrator and mediator should be such that he is independent and impartial in nature, Your Lordship. Your Lordship, kind reference be paid to the compendium on page number 82, where in the highlighted paragraphs in the case of Northern Railway Administration versus Patel Engineering, the court clearly observed that due regard should be paid to conditions to secure the appointment of an independent and impartial arbitrator. Your Lordship, further, tests to identify whether the arbitrator was biased or not and was independent in nature or not were laid down by the English courts, which have been adopted by the Bharnesian and the Indian courts. Your Lordship, the tests are as follows: real likelihood of bias or reasonable suspension of bias. Your Lordship, kind reference be paid to compendium page number 75, where in paragraphs number 14 and 16, in the case of S. Partha Sarthi versus State of Andhra Pradesh, the court observed, Your Lordships, I quote here, that there should be circumstances from which the reasonable man would think it probably or likely that the inquiring officer would be prejudiced. Your Lordship, the fact that the arbitrator has decided on an issue of patent validity exceeding the jurisdiction, his limitations of powers, Your Lordship, it raises obvious concerns for a reasonable man to raise doubts on arbitration or on the arbitrator's freedom of judgment. Further, Your Lordships, kind reference be paid to compendium page number 86, where in the case of Ranjit Thakur versus Union of India, the test laid down was whether reasonable man in possession of reasonable information, relevant information may become biased. Your Lordships, in the case of Metropolitan Properties Companies versus Lannan, Lord Denning also observed that the court won't look at the mind of the adjudicator, but the impression given to a reasonable man. Your Lordships, the fact that the arbitrator in his capacity as a mediator has held private caucus sessions with the parties gives us a reason to believe that confidential information was exchanged with him during those proceedings. Your Lordships, even though if he has not intentionally disclosed any such information, it has created a subconscious influence in the minds of the arbitrator, and that is reflected in the award, Your Lordships. Your Lordships, in the case of Columbia versus Pollock also, the court observed that though the judicial process demands a judge to move within the legal framework of rules, but it is also true that reason cannot control the subconscious influence of feelings which it is unaware of. Lordships, in conclusion, the nature of the award and the findings of the arbitrator raise concerns on objective resolution of the disputes. It is therefore respectfully submitted that the scheme of mediation and arbitration in Bharnesia does not permit the doubling up of the mediator as arbitrator. On the contrary, it requires both of them to be independent and impartial. Much obliged, Lordships. Lordships, the Council would like to proceed to the prayer. Any questions?
The appointment of a mediator as a conciliator independently?
Sorry, Your Lordships?
Have you challenged the mediator's appointment as the arbitrator?
No, Your Lordships, we had expressly agreed to such a provision
Therefore,
in the
you are
contract.
subjected to the jurisdiction. Is it open for you to turn around and say that the mediator had the information and it was in his mind, therefore he has acted as biased? You are subjected to the jurisdiction. You did not question the appointment of a mediator on the ground of confidentiality in the private session between the parties.
Yes, Your Lordships. Your Lordships, we...
Have you challenged that here?
Yes, Your Lordship.
Is it open for you to challenge
Yes,
it?
Your Lordships.
And once you subject it to the jurisdiction?
Your Lordships, first of all, the arbitrator was bound by the principle of natural justice. And Your Lordships, section 12 or subsection 3 clause A of the Arbitration Act gives us the jurisdiction to challenge an arbitrator if circumstances exist that give rise to justifiable doubts as to his independence and impartiality. Yes, Your Lordships. Your Lordships, if the bench is convinced to the prayer. Your Lordship, prayer, Your Lordship. 1 minute, Your Lordship. Your Lordships, in the light of arguments advanced and authorities cited, the petitioner most humbly and respectfully submits to the Honourable Court may be pleased to adjudge and declare that the impugned arbitral award is not valid and is liable to be set aside under Section 34 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996, and order respondent number 1 to disclose the information about the improved herbal extract and pass any other order as it deems fit in the interest of justice, equity, and good conscience. And for this act of kindness, the petitioner shall duty-bound forever pray. Much obliged, Your Lordships.
The Council seeks permission to address the bench as Your Lordships. May it please the Court. since the Honorable Court is already aware of the facts, the Council seeks permission to move on to state his jurisdiction in this particular case. Much obliged, Your Lordships. The petitioner has approached this Honorable Court under Section 34 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. The petitioner's counsel would like to submit that the council contests such jurisdiction of the court, Your Lordships, and the onus is upon the respondent's counsel to prove that such an award that was passed by Mr. Sampath Ammaji Mohan does not fall under the terms or the scheme of arbitration that has been set out under Section 34 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act in Barnesia, Your Lordships. So the first onus upon the respondent's counsel to establish before this Honorable Court is that this award is not challengeable under Section 34, Your Lordships. And the council seeks to draw the attention of the Honorable Court to Section 2F of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, which corresponds to Part 1 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, and effectively domestic awards, Your Lordships. The council would like to state that as according to Section 2 Clause F of the International Commercial Arbitration means an arbitration relating to disputes arising out of legal relationships, whether contractual or not, considered as commercial under the law force in India, and where at least one of the parties, Your Lordships may kindly refer to subclause 2, wherein it has been said that a body corporate which is incorporated in any other country other than India, Your Lordships. As according to the fact sheet, the respondent company, that is Dr. Naidu Laboratories Incorporated, is a company that has its registered office in Imperia, Your Lordships. And therefore, the international commercial arbitral nature of this impugned arbitral award is established. Now the council seeks the court's attention to Section 44 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, wherein it has been mentioned that in this chapter, unless the context otherwise requires, foreign award means an arbitral award on differences between persons out of legal relationships, whether contractual or not, considered as commercial under the law of force in India. The council seeks the Lordship's attention to Clause B of the aforesaid section into saying that it is in one of such territories as the central government being satisfied that reciprocal provisions have been made, may by notification in the official gazette declared to be the territories to which the said convention applies. So, Your Lordship, Section 44's applicability is subject to a convention that has been set forth in the first schedule. Further, subclause A says that Section 44 also applies to Republic of Singapore. Now, at this point of time, it is brought to the notice of the Honorable Court that the seat of arbitration, as explicitly consented by both the parties at the time of entering into a joint venture agreement, has been stated to be that of Singapore, Your Lordships. Therefore, to deem such award that has been delivered by Mr. Sampath Ammaji Mohan to be a foreign arbitral award has established grounds, Your Lordships. And finally, the onus upon the counsellor for the respondents is to prove that there is no specific provision which states that a foreign arbitral award can be set aside by the Honourable High Court of Barnesia, Your Lordships. Your Lordships, with reference to Balco case, which was held in 2012, a plain literal interpretation of Section 2, Clause 2, with respect to the scope of arbitral matters under Part 1 of the Arbitral and Conciliation Act 1996 of India was deemed to specifically exclude, or rather conversely, to include only such arbitrations whose place of arbitration is situated in India, Your Lordships. Now, as per the as per the aforestated joint venture agreement, it has been explicitly consented by the parties that the place of arbitration, that the seat of the arbitration shall be Singapore, Your Lordship, thereby specifically excluding the jurisdiction of bar nation courts to entertain such petitions as brought forward by my learned counsels, Your Lordships. Now, the second, it is imperative that the counsel for the respondents also points out to the kind reference of the court as to where else has the remedy been provided, Your Lordships, for the petitioners in order to address any grievances that arises out of such arbitral awards, Your Lordships. The counsel humbly requests the notice of the Honorable Court to page 16 of his written submissions. Your Lordships may appreciate that in the instant case, the counsel is specifically referring to sub-issue 1.1 under page 16 of his written submissions, Your Lordships, and I quote, that in the instant case, the Honorable Court might consider that the REPL and NLI have entered into a joint venture agreement and according to clause G have agreed that the proper law of contract shall be bar nation and imperial law. Now, in case of conflict, the system of law that favors the rights of IP owners and foreign investors will prevail. Now, my lordships will agree with me that...
Where is the clause which says that jurisdiction of the, the courts in any other place
Clause G of the fact sheet, Your Lordship, with specific reference to the moot problem. Your Lordships, under para 5 of the fact sheet, clause G, it's been said that the system of law that favors the rights of IP owners and foreign investors shall... the counsel seeks permission to further his submissions. Much obliged, Your Lordship. It has also been held that the place or seat of arbitration acts as a territorial link between the arbitration itself and the law of the place in which the arbitration is legally situated, Your Lordships, thereby conferring jurisdiction to the Singaporean courts to entertain any such matters with regards to setting aside of an award resulting after the arbitral award has been pronounced by the arbitrator in this issue, Your Lordships. Now, the counsel would like to beg the court's attention to the powers conferred upon the High Court of Singapore under Singapore International Arbitration Act, with specific reference to section 17, the counsel begs your pardon, to section 24 of the Singapore International Arbitration Act, Your Lordship. The counsel seeks permission to quote the aforesaid section as it is. It is held, notwithstanding Article 34, Clause 1 of the model law here being the UN Citral Model of Law that has been the basis or the scheme for mediation and conciliation in Barnesia as well, and Singapore. The High Court may, in addition to the grounds set out in Article 34, Clause 2 of the model law, set aside the award of the arbitral tribunal if the making of the award was induced or affected by fraud or corruption, or a breach of the rules of natural justice occurred in connection with the making of the award, by which the rights of any party have been prejudiced. So, in toto, the counsel seeks to impress upon the Honorable Court that if there are any genuine grievances that the petitioners seek to be remedied, then the proper law or the proper law that governs such arbitration matters with respect to the arbitration agreement is the Singaporean courts, since it provides an explicit provision which very well provides relief as they've prayed for the setting aside of an award here. And hence, bar nation courts do not have jurisdiction to entertain such appeals, Your Lordships. And the counsel would like to further state that when any question of an assumption of jurisdiction or the exercise of excessive jurisdiction by the arbitrator while deciding upon points of law which is beyond his brief, the doctrine of competence principle comes into play, Your Lordships. The principle of competence has been.
You were going to the next point, possibly.
This is another sub-issue,
Yes.
Your Lordships.
Now, on the jurisdiction aspect,
Your Lordships.
what do you say that only Singapore court would have the jurisdiction, not the other country where the matrix contract was entered into? The
Imperial laws specifically
that you have
state.
not said. Now, then what harmonious construction you would give to that particular clause of the agreement which says Bharatanasia laws would be applicable?
Your Lordship, if my Lord is referring to clause G.
Have you come across this situation that matrix contract in A country, arbitration in B, and the law would be applicable for C? Have you come across any authority on this?
Add to my Lord's question, I want to know whether no part of the cause of action has really taken place in Singapore. Either it could be Imperia or this other place,
Of course, Your
Barnesia.
No, site of the
And
arbitration.
therefore-
Arbitration was held at Singapore.
No, site of the arbitration may be irrelevant. So
Yes,
can
yeah.
you shut out the jurisdiction of the courts, of Barnesia, only on the ground that the arbitration was held in Singapore? We want you to answer that question in the light of the CPC provision as well as the terms of your contract, which are silent on either ousting or vesting jurisdiction anywhere.
Your Lordship might appreciate the fact that in such private, complex international agreements, there are.
What does it call? It's called a blue moon situation. One country matrix contract, other country site of the arbitration, and the other country the law would be applicable.
Indeed, Your
Now,
Lordship.
do you have the authorities on this? Apart from BALCO, any international authority, any other? You do not have. Cross to
The council
Yes.
seeks to bring to the Honorable Court's attention that a couple of months back, since we are dealing with Bar Nation laws, it is imperative that the council points out to a recent case law in the case of Lal Mahal Sahu versus Progetto Spa Company Limited, which was delivered by the Honorable Supreme Court in August 2013. The council doesn't have a copy to provide this.
No,
to the-
tell us the proposition of law.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. My learned friend for the petitioner humbly submitted that in the light of Renu Sagar's case ratio, with respect to there being a violation of public policy, that this petition could be entertained. Now, this decision which follows the Renu Sagar judgment clearly states that following Renu Sagar, we think that for the purposes of section 48 clause 2 subclause B, the expression public policy of India must be given narrow meaning, and the enforcement of foreign award would be refused on the ground that it is contrary to public policy of India if it is covered by one of the three categories enumerated under
Patel
the-
says otherwise.
Your Lordship,
Patel says otherwise.
Your Lordship, further in the case,
Shopaib says otherwise.
Your Lordship seeks the Honourable Court's indulgence, and the Council would like to state that in toto the Supreme Court of India in Lal Mahal Sahu case held that although we reiterate the public policy guidelines that has been set under Renu Sagar case, we still acknowledge the competence of foreign arbitral awards, Your Lordships.
Come to your next point.
Much obliged, Your Lordships. Your Lordships, it is also the contention of the petitioners that there has been the dilution of their intellectual property rights, which have occurred due to the appointment of experts. But according to para 13 of the fact sheet, it is very evident that during the pendency of the mediation proceedings, Your Lordships, the Mr. Sampath Amaji Mohan, who was the mediator then, had in fact appointed respondent number 2 to provide him secretarial support. Now, this divulging of intellectual property rights that has resulted in a grave economic loss to the petitioners is not totally true. because they have their implicit consent because they have acquiesced. Because arbitration was the forum of dispute resolution method after mediation. And the fact sheet is very clear on the point that Mr. Sampath Amaji Mohan engaged the services of respondent number 2 into providing him secretarial support. And this secretarial support has further been substantiated in the next 2 sentences, stating that the respondent number 2 collected the pleadings of the respective parties, framed issues, facilitated discovery, and inspection of the documents relied on by the respective parties.
With due respect to the other side's argument, they did not talk anything about the administrative part of it. They only objected to your receiving expert evidence. So deal with that, please. That was the only bone of contention.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Your Lordships, it is clear from the aforesaid joint venture agreement that the arbitrator shall follow the principles of natural justice. Taking into account the fact that it was the same person who had mediated the same proceedings on the same facts before he went on to don the hat of an arbitrator, it is possible that he felt that there would have been a grim miscarriage of justice if he doesn't follow the principles of natural justice in meting out the arbitral award. And hence, in this context, respondent number 2, by commissioning expert agencies to determine whether the patent, the greenhouse kit patent that was held by REPL, actually works without the addition of the herbal extract that was supplied to NLI, had in fact sought to avoid the doctrine of institutional bias, Your Lordships.
Who appointed the expert?
The respondent number 2, Your Lordship.
Respondent number 2. He was not the arbitrator. He was not the arbitrator.
Of course, Your
Now, respondent number 2 was the delegatee. Can a delegatee delegate his power to someone else?
Your Lordship, the Council would like to state that there existed a contract of agency between the respondent and the arbitrator and the respondent, and therefore it could be well appreciated by the court that there was an implied consent of the arbitrator as well when he appointed the expert agencies to rule upon. Your Lordship?
You understand the question of my brother?
Yes, Your Lordship. His Lordship inquired if there was explicit consent of...
He can appoint an expert to give his expert opinion on the allegations or the dispute between the parties, where it is the expert's opinion is required, not arbitrator. Arbitrator must be assisted by an expert. Question is, can a delegatee can appoint an expert? That's the question.
Very good.
All right.
Proceed.
Your Lordship, the next contention would be dealt by my co-counsel.
Yes.
Henceforth, Your Lordship. Much obliged.
Yes.
Still you have got time. They are not...
He would utilize more time.
All right. You come.
Please.
Lordship.
With the prior permission of the court, I am the counsel for respondent. The counsel two for the respondent. As already my first counselor has addressed the issue.
You can raise it, otherwise.
As already my first counsel has addressed the issue of jurisdiction, that the counsel for petitioners has wrongly approached the court under section 34. And also various procedural irregularities which they condemned. As in their submission, they have mentioned that section 37, that there is an obligation on the parties which they have contracted with. That is what they have agreed.
He has almost dealt with the legal issue.
Exactly.
Why don't you address us on facts?
Exactly. Your Lordship, with regards to one more procedural irregularity which they have raised, that is mediator doubling up as the arbitrator. It is obvious in the law of land and also in the Singapore International Arbitration Act, a conciliator or the conciliator or the mediator can double up as an arbitrator, which is provided in the both the Singapore and Indian and Bharatnation.
Indian law, it is there.
Yes, exactly. If I would like to raise the court's attention to the section 80 of the.
Possibly, we have a different idea.
The section 80 of the Act.
Yes, read on.
Role of the conciliator in other proceeding, unless otherwise agreed by the parties, the conciliator shall not act as an arbitrator or as a representative or counsel of a party in any arbitral or judicial proceeding in respect of a dispute that is subject to the conciliation proceeding. So there is a clause here, rider here, that is unless otherwise agreed by the parties.
That is for conciliator.
Conciliation, yes, exactly, Your Lordship. But in AFCRON, counsel request for a minute.
There is a difference between mediator and conciliator.
Exactly, Your Lordship. In the case of AFCRON Infra versus Cherian Varkey Construction, which was held in 2010 by Justice Ravindran, he has exclusively dealt with the section 89 of CPC and various dimensions of it. In that, he has mentioned that mediation can be synonymously used as the conciliation for the purpose of the Act, and all these, therefore, all these provisions in the Conciliation Act is applicable to the mediation also, Your Lordship. In that sense, even in this section, yes, Your Lordship.
Ravindran said so in the context of section 89 of the CPC.
Exactly, Your Lordship.
And there, his lordship, subject to correction, his lordship was of the view that someone acting as a mediator
Exactly.
can also take up the role of a conciliator, but this far no further. The mediator is a catalytic agent. It mediates between the two erring groups to come to some consensus.
Yes, sir.
Whereas conciliator, he goes into the problem, helps the parties to come to a conciliation, so there might be overlapping power, but these are two different aspects when we go to arbitration law,
Exactly.
subject to correction.
I apologize, Your Lordship. And with regard to section 17, with regards to, in that case, I would like to alternate my argument by stating a case, that is Mirkovitz versus Israeli case, which was held in New Jersey Appellate Division Bench in the Federal Circuit Court. In that case, it was held that the mediator cannot become arbitrate. A mediator cannot become arbitrate. That was the decision unless there is an agreement by the parties to do so. In the instant case, if you kindly refer the arbitration clause clearly refers that a mediator can develop as an arbitrator. Therefore, at the later point of time, the parties cannot question the jurisdiction of the court. The professional to develop as mediator and arbitrator, Your Lordship. Also, with regards to the, with your permission, let me move on to the third issue. That would be, I would be dealing with the decision in favor of the arbitrator is very much valid, and also I would be dealing with the arbitrability of IP dispute, the debate, and I would be also discussing various other decision of the arbitrator, which is I would be proving that it is very much valid. Before that, the council would like to go for a slight rebuttal on the part of the submissions of the Learned Council of Petitioners. The Learned Council of Petitioners has already mentioned that their herbal extract is a trade secret of the petitioners, that is REPL. If herbal extract is and they have relied to the clause E, that is clause E says that NLI undertook not to do any reverse engineering of the composition and nature of plant nutrient supplement supplied by the Raghaveda Enterprises Private Limited. Your Lordship, this is as per the agreement, joint venture agreement, this is very much valid, and we are complied under section 37 of the Contract Act. But in the later part of the fact sheet, if you come across, the parties, the REPL has allowed the NLI to conduct research on this particular provision, Your Lordship, which automatically, so there is a creation of novation of contract in this case under section 62 of the Contract Act. Therefore, this, pardon? Your Lordship, obviously when the party is allowed to do research on the this herbal extract, obviously it will be waiving the contract clause, which is clause C, Your Lordship. And with regards to now, they cannot even seek protection under clause F, which speaks of, in the event there being any improvement IPR, the accruing IPR should be notified to the technology recipient to REPL, and the latter will have to right to obtain IPR registration at their discretion after paying a consideration of $1,000 a patent. Here it is clearly mentioned, technology recipient to the REPL. There is no technology which is received by the REPL with regards to the herbal extract. Therefore, even that clause will not help with regards to herbal extract, Your Lordship. Therefore, as claimed by the petitioners, it is not a trade secret. The herbal extract is not a trade secret. Yes, so we are submitting before your Honorable Court that it is not a trade secret, and it is very much in the content of the Patent Act, Your Lordship, and the patent, the greenhouse kit, Your Lordship. Therefore, the arbitrator has rightly indulged in the validity of patent, which is intermediate to the actual dispute of this arbitration, Your Lordship. What happened exactly in this dispute was, there was improvement IPR on the herbal extract, which as claimed by the, which is improvement IPR by the NLI, and NLI choose it to keep as a secret, as they have no obligation to transfer this technology to the REPL, Your Lordship. In that case, REPL has claimed infringement of their IPR rights. Therefore, in return, this NLI has claimed that challenge the validity of this this greenhouse kit patent, Your Lordship. Therefore, it is inevitable for the arbitrator to frame issues with regarding to the validity of patent, Your Lordship. In support of this, I would like to quote a case which is mentioned in the written submission, page number 31. Considering the inter partes effect of the arbitration, the arbitral tribunal in the interim award in the international commercial contract case number 6097 of 1988 saw no tension between the jurisdiction of the state courts and arbitral tribunal, Your Lordship. The facts of this instant case were, there was two companies, Japan company and German company. Japan company were holding two patents. So Japan company leaked this German company for German company for infringement, where in return German company challenged the validity of the patent, Your Lordship. So the argument on behalf of the Japan company was, this is a completely the national jurisdiction of the national jurisdiction of the Japan, and it will not be applicable. It cannot be challenged by it cannot be challenged or decided by the arbitrator, Your Lordship. In that, the tribunal held that arbitrator tribunal considered that an arbitral award on invalidity would not affect the formal validity, that is validity in drum, as we called it before, of the patent registered in Germany, but bind the parties. Accordingly, the tribunal considered that it did possess jurisdiction to resolve the defense of invalidity asserted by the respondent, Your Lordship. And also, as in the submission, they have mentioned that in Imperial law there is no mention of the arbitrability of the Patents Act or patent validity. It is in the USA. In USA and also in Imperial, the section 35 of US courts of the Patents Act, section 281 also mentioned the arbitrability of IP dispute, especially the patent validity, Your Lordship. And there is no much case which has been decided upon across the globe with regards to the patent validity. Therefore, we cannot quote specifically the Bernician courts or Indian cases in this regard. But in various Italian courts, all has decided in favor of this arbitrability of IP dispute mainly on two reasons. One is inter partes effect of the arbitration, international private commercial arbitration. That is, any decision which is taken or by the arbitrator, it is binding only on the two parties, Your Lordship. That is, inter partes effect with combined with such a validity decision which is taken by the arbitrator is only against validity in personam. It is not validity in drum, Your Lordship. So these two, if we combine these two arguments together, it would be, it can be seen that there is no question of overlapping jurisdiction between the state bodies, which has the authorized power to contest the challenge of validity of patent, and also with regards to the tribunal's power to adjudicate the dispute, Your Lordship. And also, if you kindly go to the fact sheet, there is a brief description about this, the arbitrator himself, that is Sambat Ammaji. I would be reading that portion, Your Lordship. This Sambat Ammaji was also a registered patent agent, Your Lordship. With regards to that, I would like to quote section 129 of the Patents Act. (129) of the Patent Act says restriction on practice as patent agents. No person, either alone or in partnership with any person, shall practice, describe, or hold himself out of a patent agent, or permit himself to be so described or held out unless he is registered as a patent agent, or as the case may be, unless he and his partners are so registered. So, in this case, the Sambat Ammaji Mohan is a registered patent agent, and with regards to the explanation to that provision, Your Lordship, clause C, giving advice other than of a scientific, I would read the explanation. For the purposes of this section, practice as a patent agent includes any one of the following acts, namely, clause C says that giving advice other than of a scientific or technical nature as to the validity of patent or their infringement. So, in this instant case, Sambat Ammaji has only given the opinion about the patent validity, and he hasn't actually declared the validity of the patent as alleged by the counsel for petitioner, Your Lordship, and it has only helped in the adjudication of the dispute between these two parties. So it is again supports our cause, saying that this is only validity in personam and not validity in drum as alleged by the counsel for petitioner, Your Lordship.
Excuse me, I just need you to understand clearly.
Yes, Your Lordship.
Are you talking about infringement of the patent, which under the American law is something that the arbitrator can go into, or are you talking about, the declaration that the patent granted is illegal? Now that's a different question altogether. Yes. So what you read out just now under 35, clause 35,
yes, Your Lord,
doesn't empower, even in America, the arbitrator to go into the question of grant of patent.
It's about.
I just want you to keep that distinction in mind.
Okay, Lord. I apologize, Your Lordship. With your permission, I would like to, if Lordship may permit, I would. Yeah, the next issue would be that the arbitrator's other decisions with regards to the dispute, that is, following at the decisions, which I will be briefly mentioning, that greenhouse patent is invalid as the appellant in the case hasn't complied with the best mode requirement and cannot produce the required result as claimed in the patent without employing the herbal extract. Secondly, the license is perpetual and irrevocable. There cannot be a restraint order in respect of future use. Only the greenhouse kit patent is revoked and other patents of same family were not revoked. Thirdly, NLI should renegotiate with the REPL relating to the ownership of improved mutation-inducing herbal extract. Lastly, REPL has also supplied NLI with the finished product and not along with the technology. Therefore, NLI is not bound to share ownership. With regards to the sufficient disclosure part, I would like to quote section 10, clause 4 of the Indian Patents Act and Bernician Patents Act, which says that every complete specification shall fully and particularly describe the invention and its operation or use and the method by which it is to be performed. Clause B says that disclose the best method of performing the
challenging their patent. of the greenhouse? Are you challenging their patent of the greenhouse?
Your Lordship,
Accepted their patent. You agreed into the joint venture agreement.
yes, Your Lordship.
Question it would be too late in the day to raise number one and number two before the arbitrator.
Yes, I am just conceding that the arbitrator decision with regards to the validity of patent is, or I would rephrase it as opinion regarding the validity of patent is very much valid, and therefore the decision with regards to the improvement IPR is justified, Your Lordship. With Your Lordship permission. Therefore, it has been clearly mentioned that the herbal extract being not disclosed by the parties, by the REPL, it has not met with the best disclosure, Your Lordship. And also, as contended by the parties, license cannot be revoked at the later state as the license was granted irrevocable and also perpetual, Your Lordship. And also, NLI is not bound to share the ownership. As already mentioned in the previous contention, there was no technology as transferred by the REPL to the NLI. Therefore, we are not bound to share the ownership. With regards to all these contentions, I would like to sum up my arguments. So, as alleged by the Counsel for Petitioner, we have submitted before Your Lordship's kind attention that this is not a trade secret. As also, we are also mentioned that the patent validity is an important question in the dispute for the adjudication of the dispute. Therefore, arbitrator can indulge in this patent validity as an intermediate question. Also, we have also mentioned that the herbal extract is a very integral part of the greenhouse kit. Therefore, full disclosure of this greenhouse kit patent and herbal extract is very much essential for the validity of patent. In the lights of all these submissions, the arbitrator's decision with regards to improvement IPR is very much justified, Your Lordship. With your permission, let me move on to the prior. No, Your Lordship. Wherefore, in the lights of the issues raised, arguments advanced, and authorities cited, it is humbly submitted before the Honorable High Court of Rasmat that it may be graciously pleased to dismiss this petition. For all the kindness may render, all of which respectively submitted, Counsel for Respondent.
Yes, please.
Your Lordship, considerable amount of time of the respondents was spent on the maintainability of the petition. Section 2F Clause 3 of Arbitration Act was raised, and that because it is a body corporate, it's a body corporate which is incorporated in any other country other than India, NLI being any other country other than India. Your Lordship, having value to the principles of natural justice and reading the next clause, immediate next clause, which says, a company or an association or a body of individuals whose central management and control is exercised in any country other than India. So, Your Lordship, the primary concern here is the central management of the company, and it is given in the fact sheet, Your Lordship. Kind reference be made to point number 4 of the fact sheet. NLI, though an Empyrean listed company, was owned and controlled by Dr. Naidu's Laboratories, hugely successful generic drug company based in Bharaneshia. Therefore, Your Lordship, that argument stands defeated. Furthermore, Your Lordship, the contract was executed in the year 2007. It is accepted by the petitioners that Balco judgment is currently applicable, which holds that Part 1 of the Arbitration Act shall not be applicable to awards which the seat is outside. Whereas here, 2007, the contract was executed. At that point of time, Bhatia is applicable, wherein it was held that though the seat of arbitration is outside, Part 1 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act shall be applicable, Your Lordship. Therefore, that stands defeated as well. Moreover, Your Lordship, merely because the seat was outside India, that is Singapore, kind reference, kindly note that laws of Bharaneshia and Imperia shall be applicable has been specifically provided, and also that the contract Just a minute, Your Lordship. Much obliged, Your Lordship. And the contract was executed in Varanasi, Your Lordship. In the case of National Thermal Corporation versus Singer Company, the Supreme Court held the following, and I quote, "Choice of place for submission to jurisdiction of courts or for arbitration may have little relevance for drawing an inference as to the governing law of the contract, unless supported in that respect by the rest of the contract and surrounding circumstances," which is completely different in the present case, Your Lordship. Moreover, it was also held in the case that the place where the contract was made, the form and the object of the contract, the place of performance and the place of residence or business of the parties, reference to the courts having jurisdiction, and other such links are to be examined by the court in order to determine the maintainability of the petition, Your Lordship.
Madam, now the matter is over. It's unfortunate none of you would refer to the permission that was granted. The document, none of you, because much you turned on that. Under what circumstance you gave them the permission to research and to what extent? Number one. Number two, before the arbitrator, even if we accept that the arbitrator was justified in accepting, because my lord has posed a question that was not properly answered, that you submitted to the jurisdiction. Your arbitration should have been on a plain and simple logic. Look, they are to purchase the ingredient from me, and we have to, they would produce greenhouse that is patented. But the ingredient, which is your property, that is not patented.
Yes, Your Lordship.
That is not patented.
Yes, Your
So, you have permitted them to cause research. To what extent? For improvement of the finished product, by keeping, using only the ingredient which you are giving. Or, because when you are allowing someone to do a research, he has to go deep into it. To the extent that is the turning point of this case would have been the permission that nobody unfortunately addressed us. And there is one more thing. You have lot of things said about validity of the patent. That is, with due respect to all, this is not the arbitrator's business. You should have said that yes, we entered into a joint venture, you are not giving me requisition, it's a commercial contract, I am losing, so I am entitled to compensation. Secondly, the point which you have not highlighted, madam, the arbitrator is to adjudicate on all points. See the last part of the award, which says that you have to negotiate with him on the royalty. There is no finality arrived at. On this ground alone, the award is liable to be set aside. Unfortunately, you did not mention. Thank you. Thank you all.
Much obliged, Your Lordship. Thank you for noting the same. We shall incorporate the same probably in the next mood. Definitely. I would like to address the same. As regards the first question, please, if you may allow, Your Lordship. As regards the first question, with respect to what extent further research was allowed. Your Lordship, this was the question that was lingering in our minds also, but unfortunately the facts are silent on the aspect, Your Lordship. As regards to what extent the further research was permitted and to what extent they did, we do not know that, and we did not want to divulge away from the facts, Your Lordship. As regards the second question with respect to patent validity, it has been submitted, Your Lordship, that arbitrator is not the right person to decide on the validity, Your Lordship. Much obliged, Your Lordship.
Can I just tell them something that they should have really referred to? Respondents, actually, can you get up so I can talk to you and see your faces? Okay, see, none of you referred to Section 140 of the Patents Act of 1970, which clearly lists out the kind of contracts and the kind of restrictive conditions that are not permitted under the Patents Act. So the clause under 5D, which says that you will only buy the material from them, would stand outlawed because of Section 140. So you didn't notice that. Now, none of you referred also to any of the rules of the Permanent Court of Arbitration, which under Section 5(9) of the agreement is supposed to be the one that rules the contract. Now, if you had gone to permanent, Court of Arbitration rules, you would have seen under sections 11 and 12, there's a specific provision about, there's no ban about a mediator acting as an arbitrator later on. So please read those sections. Those sections they're called articles under the permanent rules. So you should have really referred to those articles which had such a lot of impact on all this. So you never even refer to those. So these are very obvious points which you missed out.
We thank the bench for their time. Ladies and gentlemen, the bench will take a few minutes to announce and deliberate and give the final result.